So Philosophy wanted to have a chat about dogs instead of I don't know what other pets we might have, parrots, snakes, whatever. So
Good.
Philosophy, am I saying that right?
Philosophy, yes, absolutely.
Philosophy, yeah,
Yes.
I keep feeling like I'm screwing that up. All
Don't
right,
worry, you
so
got it perfect.
very good, thanks. All right, let's start off.
Awesome. Well, first of all, thank you for having us again to do this silly little interview thing. The other week we saw one of your videos and we saw your dog on camera, and your dog is gigantic, like, truly big dog. We also have a gigantic dog. She's a purebred Great Pyrenees. She's 9 months old. She's over 100 pounds.
Mine is
So
just 95.
just 95. Wow, he looks a lot bigger. So we came to our thoughts. We've trained a lot of dogs, but this is our first dog, and we don't actually know much about dog genetics. And we've seen you in several videos. You do know a lot about dog genetics. So we're wondering if we could get some personal questions and then maybe some evolution questions from you based on dogs.
All right. Let's see what you got.
Well, first of all, what dogs do you have? Like, let's get to the
Well,
crux of it.
I had one until a month or two ago that I had for the last 14 years.
Oh,
Yeah, but we got it. That she was um, a Louisiana leopard dog, also known as a Catahoula.
huh.
Yeah,
Never
and
heard of that one.
we got and all our dogs are rescues. We got her in the pound. She was a puppy. She was on her last day before they were about to put her down.
Oh, that's nice. That's good of you.
Yeah, so
Good.
yeah, at the time, some people were trying to convince us that we should go to a dog breeder, a professional dog breeder. I'm like, no, we don't want nothing to do with that insidious business.
Right. No,
Yeah,
because it's not Moon
it's a
Girl. We
puppy.
got
Yeah,
yeah. No, Moon Girl. We just got off of a farm in Eastern Oregon. So they're they just had a litter of dogs and they were trying to get rid of them. And we went out to the farm and we saw it. It was a very nice farm and every once in a while they just pop out a litter or two.
yeah. Well,
Let
that's
their
a little
dogs do
different
their
than
thing.
some of the
Yeah.
like the professional dog
Yeah.
breeders I'm
Yeah.
talking about. And we got plenty that need rescue. And if you have a heart at all, just visit a pound. You're not going to go home without a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
We
remember when they used to sell dogs in the pet store, which I haven't seen a dog in a pet store in quite a while.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, at least around here in Oregon they're starting to phase that kind of thing out entirely,
Yeah.
which we think is good.
Yeah. Don't need that anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've had her for a good long time until there was a series of different conditions requiring different medications that were all accumulating over the course of a year or so.
Yeah.
And the final one was when the vet said, "Yeah, it's cancer."
Oof.
On
Oh
top of
geez.
everything else. Yeah.
Oh, our
So
dearest condolences for that. We don't know what we would think if Mooney got that diagnosis.
yeah. So yeah, she was already in pain. The pain meds were not doing the job. We'd upped the dosage, and I could tell she's still uncomfortable, and so it was actually a relief when they said that this is cancer and we're going to have to put her down. I'm like, yeah, well, at least there's that.
You're right. Do it kind of humanely and
It's frustrating
get
to
done
me
with.
though that dogs get spared what is going to be a chronic, debilitating, costly, emotionally and financially costly event. Dogs get spared that. Humans, not so much.
No, no, they got to fight legally for decades to get any representation for that at all. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not even going to go into the dark side of what happens to parents when they're told that their kids are incurable and just try to keep them comfortable as long as you can. They got maybe a few days,
Right.
and you just wait for your kid to die. We're not. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
best save it to dogs.
yeah. But we'll save dogs from that.
Yeah.
And then one of our other dogs is a Dachshund Corgi mix,
Oh
and
my god, that sounds adorable.
they call that breed a Dorgie.
We love it.
Yeah, and one of his eyes is silver. It has a silver ring around it. The other one is brown, so we named him Bowie. He's also blonde.
Nice.
Yeah, and then
Perfect.
of course Falcor. And what happened there was my mother stopped by and she walks in the front door and she goes, "Hey, you know you got this giant dog in your front yard." And he just bounded into the door behind her. She's standing there with the door open and he just came right in like he lives here.
Decided that he was your dog now, and you're his human now.
Yeah, very much like that. Yeah, he bounded into
Oh
the house, no
wow.
introductions, and right away starts. He jumps in when my little dorgie flipped over on his back doing the "don't kill me" thing, because what the hell else are you going to do, right?
Right.
And then the two start playing.
As you do, yeah. That's great.
So 95-pound Great Pyrenees and 30-pound dorgie.
Yeah.
Yeah, if that. I'm not even sure what the dorgie weighs. But we had to keep the dog overnight because it was after the vet had already closed.
Right. So
So, and
nothing you
I
can
wasn't going to
do.
have something like this wandering loose in the streets. So yeah, so we had him spend the night, and then we went down to the vet the next day, and we found out he was chipped, and we used the chip to trace to the owner. The owner showed up to get the dog, and then we'd got on Nextdoor. We were reporting on Nextdoor that we had this dog. We found this dog.
Yeah.
And so we reported on Nextdoor that we got it back to the owner and everything. Then we got a message back saying this is not a happy ending, that the owner picked the dog up from us and dropped it off at the pound.
Oh no.
So the backstory was
Heartless.
the reason he was out in the first place was because they wanted him gone.
That's unfortunate.
Because apparently there was this girl who was living with her grandparents. Her grandparents did not want her to have the dog. They were perfectly fine with the dog getting out all the time and just kept hoping that somebody else would take him. So I find myself at the pound now paying $35 for a dog that was effectively mine the night
That you
before.
already had, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man.
So,
and we think that's so cruel. People who can just like leave a dog or just drop a dog. Like we couldn't think of that with our dog. We're no. She's no. This is our silly fuzzy daughter, and
I remember your camera's not working, so I can't see.
yeah, unfortunately, yeah. But our dog is our silly fuzzy daughter. We can't imagine giving her away, like, or trying to kick her out of our life or anything like that. It's just not.
Yeah.
It's a little unfathomable, really.
All right. So you had some questions, did you?
Yeah, let's start with the simple one. Does your dog drool a lot? Because ours drools constantly. She is a very juicy dog.
Well, mine does not drool necessarily, but he plays with the dorgie every night, like clockwork. Every evening before bed, the two of them are tussling and wrestling on the floor.
Right.
I'm supposed to be hosting I think Skep Talk today, and if it runs late, then I'm going to hear those dogs because that's what they do every single night.
Slamming themselves around.
Yeah, and then
Yeah, she does
the
that with
dorgie
her
wants to be
brother.
petted, but the dorgie is now as slimy as a chew toy.
Oh my god, yeah, no, that's exactly what happens with our dogs. Yeah, no, so her brother Hudson is half border collie and half Great Pyrenees. They have the same father. And so, you know, he's pretty big, so they can like tussle around and like slam each other into walls and throw each other halfway across the room. And then at the very end, when they get tired, they want you to pet them and they want to like cuddle up with you, and you're over here like, no. No, please no. Okay, here's the real thing. This is a hot button issue around these parts. Do you let your dogs on the furniture?
That's a kind of a trick question because I don't have furniture.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I really don't. I mean, I have a couch that we have blocked off so the dogs cannot get on the couch.
Okay.
And otherwise, here in the main room, I have the dorgie, and for a long time the Catahouli were both confined to the room that I'm always in.
Yeah.
And so there's no other furniture they could get on. Yeah,
Okay, fair enough.
when the Catahoula was young, when she was a puppy, she did this ferociously annoying thing that she would come into the house and run into one of the bed. We would let her in from the backyard. She would run into the house, jump onto one of the beds, pee on it, and then
What?
be ready to be let out again.
What? Really? We're sorry to laugh. It's just.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh
So
man, that
after
sounds
she did that,
infuriating.
after she did that 2 or 3 times, we put up a baby gate and
Right.
keep her in the living room.
No more.
And the
No
Dorgie obviously
more.
can't get through the
Yeah.
gate either. So there you go. Falcor doesn't have a problem. He just sails right over it.
Right, because he's gigantic.
Yeah.
So do any of your dogs know any special tricks or anything like that? Because like Moon Girl knows all of the tricks. She knows how to herd. She knows she's starting to know how to track. She knows how to guard. She's a proper farm dog.
Yeah. If I could train them to do anything, I mean, all they do is sit when they want to treat, you know,
Right.
and that's really it. If I could train them to do anything, it's shut the fuck up.
That's a challenge that we're having with both of the puppies right now. No bark is a command that they both know, like they know it. They academically understand what the thing means. But whether or not they decide to actually obey that command, like when they
The
bark.
problem is the Great Pyrenees goes off with alarming, almost maddening frequency.
Really,
I mean, I'm
really.
surprised. We've been talking for what about? Oh, it's only been about 10 or 12 minutes. So yeah, so it's
Oh.
if we've been 20 minutes, then he should have gone off because he every noise that he hears outside anything, and it's
we're we're real lucky about that because Moon Girl is not nearly as sensitive. The neighbors next door can be shooting off fireworks and shotguns and all that. She doesn't seem to care. But if
yeah
somebody knocks on the door, then boom, there she is at the door immediately, like bark, 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 and then looking back at us and making sure that we're not, ignoring her. Like, how could you though?
yeah. There was a time I had a different set of dogs several years ago, but I had one of them was every bit as big as Falcor is. It was a blue tick hound.
Oh yeah.
And so we had this, and we had a Rottweiler, and all these are rescues, and like people are saying, "Hey, we have this dog. Can you take this dog?" So I would end up with a couple of damaged dogs that way. And somebody knocked on the door, and the Rottweiler and the blue tick hound go ape, and the other one is just there's another like a border collie who was completely insane and would just scream barking, which is this terrible. So it just pandemonium. Somebody knocked on the door, pandemonium in the house. And I managed to I can get the door open. I've got one hand on the blue tick hound and another one on the rot, and I'm
Yeah,
opening the door with my feet.
as you
And
do.
I'm angry at wrestling the dogs, right? So because they're going berserk, I'm like, whoever the canvasser is, the salesman out. I said, "What?" And he said, "Dude, I was here to sell you a security system, but you clearly don't need it."
Right, because you've got these big old dogs. Oh man, so it's funny with Moon Girl. She doesn't actually bark. She's actually a pretty quiet dog generally. But if she sees somebody that she hasn't seen in like a half an hour, 25 minutes or whatever, she'll start wailing like squealing the song of her people in excitement, and you have to hold her back or she'll literally like plow the person over and like while squealing in excitement be like, "Oh my god, I love you," and lick them to death, pinning them to the ground because she doesn't
Yeah,
know
that
her
was his
size.
border collie that I had. Every time I would let him out for a bit, and every time I let him in, he would. It, why don't what is this scream? Is bark, 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 bark. He couldn't not do that every time you let him in. He would bark like 13 times upon entering the door, and it was all ear splitting, high pitched,
Ooh.
wholly unnecessary.
Yeah, exactly. And we're hoping that she calms down with age, but somehow we don't think she will.
Yeah.
So how does your dog react to new people with that in mind? You see how our dog reacts to new people. She squeals her head off and is very excited.
My dog likes to. I'm sure you've noticed if you have a Pyrenees yourself, you've noticed this trait that they have that they like to hug people.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, she's very huggy.
Yeah, so that's a bad thing when the dog is taller than my wife and wants to give strangers hugs.
That we've had to keep that from happening. Yeah, she has our dog has hip dysplasia, so she doesn't get the jump up as good, but she's sneaky about it. She'll wait until you lean down and punch you in the face with her nose, trying to hug you.
Yeah, my when my 80-year-old mom comes over,
Yeah.
we have to restrain the dog. He will try to knock her down to get a hug. I mean,
Well, he
he's not
loves her
trying
so
to knock her
much.
down, but he jumps to up to get a hug, and that's going to be the result.
Yeah, he loves her so much. He can't help himself. Yeah, she does the
Yeah.
same. Oh, that's funny. So is there anything that you think is particularly unique or special about your dogs? Like a behavior or a specific thing they do or what have you?
I've had a bunch of dogs, and this is a nicer set than I normally have. I've had some that were problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, and with a large reason why I don't have them anymore. Um, I've had a couple that were just not sane.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Really? Care to
yeah. There was
share?
that blue tick hound that we had.
Yeah, yeah.
No reason why, just got real aggressive.
Hmm.
Yep.
That's unfortunate.
Attacked one of our cats, no reason. Attacked another dog, no reason. Out it goes.
Yeah.
I could not be sure that he wouldn't attack people. It was looking like he was sizing up whether he should attack people.
That sounds like some genetic breakdown or
I've
whatever.
never had a dog like that. No, not ever.
That's weird.
And
That just sounds really weird.
I can't have a dog like that that's over 90 pounds.
No, goodness no. Gracious no. That's no. You can't do that. That's dangerous.
And I don't know why it's like that. I mean, there was no reason. It's with other dogs. None of the other dogs I've ever had have been like that. There's just
Hmm.
not ever. There's just no. It has to be genetic.
Yeah, that feels like some kind of genetic-y thing. You know, when you start getting just a touch older or whatever, you start breaking down and start going mean.
Yeah.
Well, do your dogs have any favorite toys?
Oh yeah, Falcor. He has a bunch of squeaky toys and like a pig that makes a. I don't think it's meant to be a pig, but it sounds like a pig.
We have one like that too, a little oinky squeaky
Yeah,
toy.
yeah,
Yeah, we
makes an
like that.
oinking
Really
sound
like
when
that
he
one.
bites. And he's all about those.
Nice. Moon Girl loves ropes. She's always about getting ropes from people and chewing them up and unbraiding them and all that stuff.
Yeah, my daughter is the one that she has two poodles. They look just like each other, but they're hugely different in size. One of them is like a little bitty toy thing, and then the other one is a great big poodle. And one of them, the great big one, only has three legs, which makes it really interesting when the way it runs.
Yeah.
And it does the thing where every time you come over, it has to bring you this slobbery ass ball that you have to throw the ball.
You have to. It's
Well,
obligatory.
she's not going to let you like have a conversation with your daughter. No, you have to throw the ball.
Right. Right, of course. Oh, we don't know. But that's funny. We kind of love dogs.
It
Like that.
disturbs me how I knew people. I mean, people in my family even who would never ever bring a dog into a house. A dog is an outside thing. A dog is the thing to be left outside alone.
Nah, can't do
I
that.
was told, not kidding, I was told that a dog is just a dumb animal. It don't feel nothing.
Wow, so that sounds like somebody who's never had a dog.
Or somebody who killed a bunch of their dogs when they got tired of them.
Oh, geez, that's even worse. Rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. No, a dog is a utility item. It's very intelligent, and that is why it is so utilitarian, and it feels a lot, and that's why humans like them so much.
Yeah. And then people who have the attitude that I just described also do this thing about if you happen to just suddenly have a coyote, somehow you have possession of a coyote in your backyard, and you've had it since it was a puppy, then instead of treating it with kindness like you would a person, because it's not a person, it's just a dumb animal, it ain't
Ugh.
got a soul like people do. Well, then you think that it responds only to threats of violence, and that respect only comes from fear. And so that's the way you should treat an animal that wasn't raised to be a pet.
As somebody who doesn't believe in a soul, we think those kind of people don't have souls.
Yeah.
that's that's our idea. Yeah, no, that's our thought on that one. So if you don't mind, we got some fun stuff out of the way. You mind if we get a little
Okay.
bit more scientific here? In our last hangout with you, we talked about farmyard evolution. As mentioned earlier, we don't know. We know a lot about farmyard evolution. We did get some stuff wrong. We tried to admit that. Sorry about that. But we're pretty confident in our general base knowledge. We've seen you on other videos, as mentioned before, talking about dogs. We know a lot about like chickens and ducks and farmyard animals, but we don't actually know much about the genetics of dogs. So
That's
what
surprising because the
exactly
dogs tend to be the go-to when we're talking about evolution.
Yeah, well, because dogs, as mentioned in our last hangout, God didn't make the dog. The dog was created by human hands, like not by some supernatural thing, but by us. Like we took wolves and we made dogs. And but we suppose like the canine figure is already there. So if you wouldn't mind, what is a dog? Like, what is the central definition of dog, like genetically speaking?
Well, that's a good way to start because dog is a very confusing word. You wouldn't
Yeah.
think so, would you? But it is a very confusing word. So we know that when we talk about dogs in general, we are usually describing domestic dog breeds.
Canis lupus goodboyicus or Canis lupus obnoxicus, depending on the day.
Typically, Canis lupus familiaris, I think,
Familiaris, yeah.
is the common one. But yeah, so that's what we're normally talking about. But in the broader definition, dog covers more than that. So a dog is any member of the family Canidae. So
Okay,
any
okay.
canid is by definition a dog, which means that a wolf, although we tend to distinguish wolves and dogs, wolves are dogs.
Okay, so it's the opposite of what we normally like to think. We normally like to think, dogs are descended from wolves, dogs are, a subset of wolves, but actually, wolf
Wolves are a
is the
subset of
dog.
dogs, yes.
Okay, that's cool. We like to hear that. That's a
So it's
learn
just
something new every
naming
day.
conventions that we gave to a certain lineage of dogs. So
Yeah.
it's and people will often say that you can get different breeds of a dog, but you can't get different species of a dog. That I think was Charles Darwin's wife's argument, although
But
it's a very common one.
But indeed, a wolf is a different species of dog from a coyote.
Yeah, well, you can they can interbreed when they're in captivity, when they're under duress, under normal circumstances. If they both have healthy populations and such, they prefer not to interbreed.
Right,
Although
right.
domestic dogs will interbreed with a kneecap if they can get it. So
They will. We've seen
that so in the broader category again, there's conventions of context. So in general, when we're talking about dogs, we're not talking about wolves. If we're just talking about dogs, we're not specify. We normally wouldn't think of wolves.
We're just
Neither
talking
would
about
we
the
think
house
of
dog, yeah.
neither would we think of foxes, because when we talk about canids and we're including wolves, some people get a little confused because there's the fox and the hound. There's the old tradition that we separate foxes from dogs.
Even though any old kid can look at a long-nosed dog and a fox and be confused by the two.
Well, yeah, there are generalities that we understand why the fox lineage is distinct from the what we call the dog lineage. There are
Yeah.
two lineages there.
Yeah.
But if we're talking about whether it's the taxonomic definition, then foxes are dogs.
Just hands down, not up for debate. Okay,
Yeah.
good.
So
Good to
they're
know.
in the fossil record. There are other groups beside, and I need to back up just a moment.
Sure.
When we talk about the different breeds of dogs, and we talk about whether there are different species of dogs, people will often argue that wolves can interbreed with domestic dogs, and they can, though they prefer not to. Technically,
Right.
that would be if they don't interbreed in the wild under normal circumstances, and generally they would be considered separate species. But there are different species of dogs that we traditionally do accept as dogs. That, as you said, any 5-year-old can see that they are a dog,
Yeah.
but they cannot interbreed. You can put them together in a pen, and it's not going to happen.
Right. You'll
You
never
could
be able to
try
take
the
a.
physical act and still fail because they're genetically incompatible.
You'll never be able to take a maned wolf and a fox and get something
So
out of them.
let's
Yeah.
say you take an Australian dingo as representative of domestic dog breeds.
Right.
Because the Australian dingo, if I remember correctly, is a domestic dog breed that went feral.
Yeah, it was brought there by the original, colonizers to Australia when humans first spread there, and then, some dogs got away and made their own independent population, as you do.
As you do, as you do. So the dingo, it represents the domestic dogs.
The
And now
dogs, yeah.
you have the Australian dingo and the Asian raccoon dog.
Never gonna make something together worthwhile.
And people will look at the Asian raccoon dog, and it does look like a raccoon. They would more likely think it was a raccoon than they would think it was a dog.
But it is indeed the other way around.
But
Yes.
it is indeed a dog, and so they would think, well, those are two distinct. But if you go into Africa now we have the African painted dog, also known as the African wild dog or the Cape wild dog, and these are my nightmare fuel.
Really?
I've,
Really?
I've
Please
seen
do
how
tell.
fast they are. I've seen how efficient they are, how rugged they are. I had to do videos on these dogs, and I had to watch hours of videos of African wild dogs. They terrify me.
Really? That's interesting because we know a little bit about African painted dogs. One of the things that we found was really fascinating about them is they will not breed with anything second cousin or closer. For whatever reason, they have a natural inclination to just avoid inbreeding at all costs.
That's interesting.
That's really interesting. Yeah, and so
Well, the
it's
other
it's
thing that's interesting about that is they also cannot interbreed with domestic dog breeds, just not at all.
right. Yeah, not close enough related. Yeah.
Yeah, so they can't breed with a wolf, can't breed with a coyote, can't breed with a dingo or a German Shepherd or a South American bush dog, which is another
Right.
distinct species, and another one that would be immediately recognizable as a dog. It's not even as distant as a fox, where you would look at a fox and say, "Well, this species has retractable claws." That's definitely something different than all dogs, right? Still a
Do
canine.
foxes have retractable claws?
I only recently found this out myself. Not all foxes, apparently, but there is at least one species of fox that retains retractable claws.
That's fascinating. Okay, thank you for that. That's another today I learned thing.
Yeah, well, I was
Awesome.
embarrassed that I didn't know that before last week.
Oh, we think it's great. You learn something more,
I
right?
feel I should have known that before a week ago, but with the way that I have to study these things so often, I should have known that. But
You
anyways,
know it
you go back
now.
into the fossil record, and then there's other groups of dogs. So if we consider all of the typical canids that we identify as dogs, the African
Yeah.
wild dog, the bush dog, raccoon dog, and a few others, those are dogs. And then we have all of the foxes, and people may think that there's a silver fox and a red fox and an Arctic fox, and the only difference is color. That's not true. There's the fennec, there's the maned
Right.
wolf, which is what happens when you try to make a wolf out of a fox.
Wait. Are you saying that leggy boys are actually secretly foxes?
They're foxes.
Oh, we did not know that either. Ah, this is blowing our mind. We're happy we did this. We're happy we did this hangout with you. Thank you. Oh, this is really
It's like a
cool.
fox on four stilts.
Yeah, it is. They're really crazy looking, and we love them.
So if foxes are one group and dogs that we've just discussed are a second group, but they're still in the parent category of dogs.
Right.
Well, then there are two other categories that no longer exist, and those are the Borophagines
The
and
bone crushers, yeah.
very good bone crushers, and Hesperocyana forms. I think it is. I'm trying to remember what they. I don't think I'm using the right. I want to say Hesperocyanids, but that would be a family. They're the group that includes Hesperocyon.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that the Borophagines, for those who don't know, these are the bone crusher dogs. The
Great
most
metal
dangerous
band.
teeth. The most dangerous teeth that the dog has is not its fangs. The most dangerous teeth the dog has is its carnassals, which are the shearing teeth at the back.
Yeah.
Because those act like self-sharpening shears, and they go through everything.
They work like a can opener, right? More or less.
When an old-fashioned can opener, they had to squeeze the hand. Yeah, a little bit like that.
Yeah.
So the Borophagines had huge carnassals, just abnormally large. And I've seen a modern dog where you toss a soup bone to it, and the dog snaps the bone in half.
Yeah.
That's a soup bone.
Yeah.
You know, well, imagine what the Borophagines could do.
And they had big, wide, flat heads too, didn't they? Giant jaw leverage power.
Well, yeah, they were big, like Epicyan, which is like the greatest name for a dog. Epic dog.
Epic dog. Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Epicyan.
Well, and we always wanted to make a metal band named Borophaginae. First album, Bone Crushing Dogs. It's amazing. They're all built in, like perfect metal album.
Well, yeah, I saw a skeleton in one of these things, and it was hard to envision it. But in real life, I think it would have looked an awful lot like Cujo.
Okay, yeah.
So it's up to 300 pounds.
Truly gigantic. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a bear-sized dog. It's as big as the biggest dog. Maybe not 300 pounds, but it is the same size as our biggest dog breeds today.
Jeez.
So if that's the English Mastiff or the Kangol,
Saint Bernard or whatever.
Yeah, we've got a couple of different large breeds, and the image, we don't really know what it looked like above the bones. There's a good deal of diversity there, but yeah, the common consensus is that it's something very Mastiff-like. But it would have. This is just the way we picture it. I have to look. I'm trying to look at it a little differently. The drawings, the artist renderings that I see of this thing just look like something you would go and pat its head. But you have to remember that this is an animal that had never encountered humans.
I was probably used to hunting in packs down big elk and stuff like that. You, as a human, are absolutely on the menu.
You are absolutely on the menu. It has no compassion or interest in you. It does not want
just
to
play.
Imagine meeting a dog and you are just a food item.
Oh yeah. Well, and you go far back enough, and that's how it was.
We're not even talking about wolves. I mean, wolves have lived with us long enough that they want to stay away from us. They saw us turn their cousins into Shih Tzus and pugs.
They don't want that to happen to them. So back off, man.
Just imagine encountering something really, really big. I mean, a dog that is as big or bigger than you are, and these things can run.
Right.
They can hit speeds of up to 40 miles an hour. And that alone is terrifying. Don't. I want to hear from you.
Finally had that bark.
There's another dog on the other street behind us that's barking.
Dear.
So he's going to try to have a conversation with it.
Right. Well, and so we're actually happy that you brought up like the Borophaginae and the other,
Hesperocyon.
Hesperocyon. Thank you.
Which, for contrast, just to give people an idea of what Hesperocyon is, imagine a dog very fox-like, because now we're going down to the root of all of them. This is older than dogs, older than foxes, or older than our common concept of dogs, older than foxes. So it's like a common between them, and it looks very weaselish. So it's a little bit longer in the spine kind of appearance, a little bit shorter in the legs.
Yeah.
So it's not a fast runner, but it's a good scurrier.
So we're glad you brought that up because that brings us to our next question. How old are dogs? Like, when did things really start getting dog-like, and why does the scientific community think that is? You know, like exactly where are we talking?
Oh, I would have to look it up to know the answer to that. I know that we have been domesticating dogs for some 20,000 years, and
Right,
that starts from Asiatic wolves.
right.
And I want to put it at just a couple of million,
Just a few
but
minutes.
if you go get back here, ah, yeah, stop. Genus, that's
That's
the name I was looking for before. Genus Canis, genus Vulpes for the foxes, and then genus Borophagine or Borophagine or whatever, and Hesperocyaninae. There, we're talking about you.
yes, we are talking about you. Beautiful dog, by the way. That's very much what Moon Girl looks like, except she's got a big salmon-colored mask.
Ah, that's interesting.
Yeah, she's a very pretty dog.
Yeah, he voluntarily jumped up in my lap yesterday. I was just about to hit the record button, and it would have been actually a pretty good video if I did if I had gotten the button pushed before he came in, because he jumped up on me and just shoved me right off camera.
we've Moon Girl's brother Hudson. He lives in the main house. They've been fighting before while we had headphones on with a cord on them, and at one point Hudson rolled by, grabbed the cord, and pulled us straight off of the chair. We were pissed in the moment, but you know, looking back, it's funny.
Okay, so I it's within the last 10 million years. But I would have to Google it to be any more precise than that.
Okay, we'll take that. So dogs are actually fairly recent, we suppose, as far as like the forms go.
Yeah, if you go back 5 to 15 million years, and I'm trying to remember accurately, but they would before there were dogs, there were miacids, and miacids are like imagine a dog cat.
Right.
The ancestors of dogs, the ancestors
Undifferentiated,
of
yeah.
cats. You're going to get something that. Shut up! Will you chill the fuck out? Calm down. Somebody's barking. I gotta bark.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, yeah. Quiet. So, where was I?
Dog cats.
Oh yeah, you go back to the common
Undifferentiated dog
ancestor,
cats.
then you have something that looks like a gannet. Which,
Okay.
yeah, they were still arboreal. Remember that raccoons are procyonids. So if you
Right.
go back far enough, the raccoon dog was literally a raccoon.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah,
Or
no, that
very
makes
similar too.
sense.
Very
That
similar too.
makes
So like
sense. Yeah.
the South American version of that, I think, is called the coatimundi, and it's just a
Quadamundi, yeah.
yeah. So raccoons, coatimundis, and there's another one that they're still arboreal. They are genetically like ancestral to dog kind of thing, or basal to dogs, and they still have hands that they can use.
Okay. Yeah. We've seen those. Yeah.
So what happened was two different ways in the feline, the carnivoran family tree splits,
Right.
and dog-like things and cat-like things. And so in the dog-like things, you start with things like mustelids. So you
Yeah.
get weasels and ferrets
Badgers
and
skunks.
curiously polecats, which are actually on the dog side.
Yeah.
But then if you
Okay.
and then if you get on the cat side, well, now you've got civets and gannets and bearcats and meerkats and hyenas, which are a derivative of civets.
Yeah, hyenas like almost became cats, but then chose not to, or something, right?
It
Is
was
it a
like turning
word?
around, deciding that you want to be a dog again.
Yeah, yeah. They were like, they almost went full cat, but they were like, yeah, cats are like okay, but I want to be able to keep my options open.
Yeah, and genetically, they really are like a strain of the closest living relative is I think the spotted civet.
Huh.
And
Okay.
in the fossil record, there used to be 50 different species of hyenas. We've only got 4 left.
Yeah, we remember they were. Didn't they displace the bone crushing dogs or something like that at some point? Because
The
they
bone
had
crushers
bone
were
crushing.
American.
Oh, okay. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah. So the bone crushers and the hyenas occupied kind of like the same niche, but on different continents.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
And the
That
bone
makes sense.
crushers, I think, are the ones that ran off because we had lions.
Yeah. Yeah. The American lion was a thing.
Yeah,
Like
we had
there were
lions, we had
numerous
cheetahs,
different types.
and of course, the leopard and the jaguar are very closely related.
Yeah.
Like so, there's like Paleofelis was the ancestor of both. And it was available in America. So you had a little bit of but the cats on this continent couldn't compete with the dogs. Not even lions could compete with the dogs.
Well, we think that is a good enough excuse to pull out that dogs are better than cats. Just
Well,
wanted to throw that one out there.
yeah. Well, bear in mind, Asia and Africa still owned by cats.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, and what ended up for North America was the top predator was the wolf.
Yep. Yep. A thing just happened that put them ahead. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
there was a point. There was a point where if you have something like it, we're talking about the mustelids. You get like something like weasels, the deviation of weasels, and you get things like badgers, right?
Yeah.
Well, now look at a wolverine.
Yeah.
A wolverine walks around on its whole foot. It looks very much like a bear. Depends on the picture, though.
That's
because
true.
Wolverine's also got tails. And on certain photographs, that's a dog. But on certain photographs, the same animal, that's a bear. Just depends on the angle you're looking at. Well, in the fossil record, there were Hemiscion and there was Amphiscion.
Yeah.
Amphiscion? No. Yes, Amphiscion. The bear dogs and the dog bears.
The dog bears. Yeah. Okay, we were about to ask you about, the bear dogs and the dog bears, because dogs became quite a diverse thing.
So the difference is, what's the difference between a bear and a dog? A bear, there's basically 3 differences. A bear has round ears. What? A bear has round ears, a stub tail.
It runs on its feet.
And it runs on whole foot.
On its whole foot, yeah.
Plods on whole feet because it's not very fast. The difference with the dog generally has the pointier ears, although there's variation, of course, in the type of ears that it has. They usually have the up ears or they can have floppy ears. But the big deal, they still have their tail. And the biggest difference is their digigrade. They go up on their hind leg or they go up on their tippy
toes. Yeah.
Now, this cost them their hand. They can no longer pick things up.
Yeah.
And so their dew claw is utterly useless, can do nothing. I mean,
that goes especially double. That goes double for our dog because her back legs have 2 dew claws apiece, and they're even less connected than the dew claws on her front legs.
That is another Pyrenees trait. For those who didn't know, Pyrenees are polydactyl. The hind legs have additional dew claws, so they have what is it? If you include the dew claws, then they have 10 toes up front and 12 toes in the back.
Yeah, she has 12 toes in the back and 10 toes up front. Yeah.
And those extra
we just went back to check them.
Those extra dew claws are just useless.
Completely worthless. They just wiggle around. The vets are all like, "Do you want to get rid of them?" We're like, "No, keep them. We love them."
If you got rid of them, it wouldn't really be a Pyrenees, would it?
Well, she wouldn't be as silly.
Yeah. But there was this time when you had the bear dogs and the dog bears, and what made them dogs was when they went up on their tippy toes, and that enabled them to have long speed endurance pace car kind of technology. So they became super predators.
Nice. Instead of the generalists that bears stayed.
A dog, because of this configuration with their legs, they can hit speeds in excess of 40 miles an hour, and nobody's going to outrun that.
Not for any period of time. No.
Yeah. Yeah, and so they're not. Our fastest runner isn't going to hit that speed,
Nah.
but our fastest runner could run the same speed in a sprint that a dog can do all day long.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
dog can do our fastest sprinter. The dog can do that with the Captain America slogan of "I can do this all day."
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and
And
that's one of the things that makes them such terrifying hunters.
because they'll just run you down. They'll let you exhaust yourself, and then you'll fall over, and you won't be able to stop them.
I had two wolf hybrids once upon a time,
Really?
and I had we went on some kind of a trip. We took these dogs with us, and when we let them out, they barreled down the street,
Right.
and I have to call them back. And fortunately, they turned around and came back because they were decently good dogs.
Good.
But as they're coming about, they're at least a football field away from me, and they're coming back to me at speed, very excited. They're hauling ass, and I realized that I'm like 20 feet from the front porch of this house. Can I get to the front door of this house before they get to me?
Probably not. Sorry.
There's only a football field between us.
Nah, probably not.
It was a little frightening to realize how fast they are.
Yeah. Well, and being quadrupedal also helps because they have to, we suppose spend less energy per foot run or what have you.
Yeah, and my dog just lay down beneath me and made the air unbreathable.
Our dog has done that several times before.
God, it's going to make me dizzy.
If it's any consolation, 5 minutes in the monkey house and you can't smell a thing. So we mentioned in our last hangout that it seems like the date for the first domestic dogs keeps gradually getting pushed back here and there, and we talked about how humans probably were living with wolves for quite some time before they came to be what we think of as the domestic dog. Do you think that this could have been done earlier in strict hypothesis?
Well, my thought on this is that our species had been collaborating for a whole long time before we started raising each other's children.
Okay.
Yeah, because we've heard the lessons about children raised by wolves. Yeah, and we've obviously been raising wolf cubs for a while.
Long time,
but,
yeah.
Yeah, but there was a time that, and I don't have proof of this. I mean, this is the way I see it.
Right. Yeah.
There was a long period in which wolves knew that we were a source of food, and we knew that we could coordinate hunting techniques with them because we both used the same hunting technique.
Yeah, we're both cursorial pack predators. Like we both outmaneuver and run down our prey. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Now because we don't have the hyper speed that they do,
right?
We do this long distance endurance thing where a band of people will chase down a prey animal and track it. So it'll run where we can't see it anymore, but we know how to track it.
Yeah.
And so every time it tries to stop to take a breath, we are.
We burst out of the bushes right as it's starting to relax.
Well, you can see us coming.
Oh yeah.
We'll be a good distance away, but we don't stop.
Yeah.
And the thing that there's immunity with these people that run marathons, and you can run 20 miles in a marathon. You don't run fast.
No, you just
run 20 damn miles. And so here's this animal that does the sprint thing. Now we're talking about in Africa, for example. It's hot. A lot of animals will simply overheat. They don't sweat like we do.
Right.
So
but we can cool down while we're in motion. And as a matter of fact, the faster we're going, kind of the better it is because, you like that cool breeze running through your hair. Oh, yeah, we've been there.
So we can chase something down till it physically can't run anymore. And we're still there. And it always reminds me of that line out of the Terminator. And it absolutely will not stop.
It will
ever.
not stop. Well, because of that similarity, we suppose in some hypothetical scenario, it would have just taken the wolves integrating a couple tens of thousands of years earlier, and we could have had dogs earlier, I
Well,
suppose,
dogs do their coordinated plans, but they don't do it by drawing up maps, do they?
right?
They
That's
certainly don't.
true.
They don't toss out ideas to each other to evaluate. So
No,
there's a different
no.
kind of communication that these dogs work out how they're going to do this.
Yeah.
And we did the same thing. So we will plot out directions. We will run in those directions. We'll do practice runs on
As you
how to
do.
coordinate. That's how we learned how to do this. That's how dogs learned how to do this.
So
So
we were kind of made for each other, evolutionarily speaking.
best friends,
Yeah. Well,
the
there
two
you
most
go.
terrifying animals on the planet.
Could have happened a lot earlier if it was just in the cards.
Yeah.
Do you think that humanity would have become as accomplished as we are without dogs, or perhaps become more accomplished if we got our hands on dogs earlier?
I don't know how to put a metric to that.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I don't see. I mean, when we're talking about hunting prey items, yeah, dogs are hugely advantageous.
Couldn't have gone as far as if we'd had them.
I mean, if there's all these medieval paintings, for example, of the boar being taken down by the dogs. I mean, the guys show up with their bows and arrows eventually, but they
Yeah,
sent their dogs after it a while earlier.
and it's
And then
great
and then
Pyrenees
when the guys
owners.
show up, they show up on horses.
Yeah,
The only thing that could run as fast as a dog.
it's a horse, right? Oh, and as a great Pyrenees owner, you own a great Pyrenees too. Yeah, they're there to kill big animals for us.
Yeah,
That's why we got them on the farm.
yeah, but I don't want to base our accomplishment as a species entirely on how effectively we can hunt down and kill other animals.
That's fair. That's reasonable. But also, dogs are, and here we were actually about to go into it. Our dog doesn't just kill things. Even despite this technology of this day and age, as a farmer, our dogs are very important. They herd our flock. They protect our land from predators. Which okay, let's steer clear of that. They alert us when things are wrong. They act as good companions. Do you think that there could have been a different animal that we could have domesticated that would have served the same utilitarian purpose?
No,
No.
no,
Okay.
not. I've seen so many. I watch an awful lot of animal rescue videos,
Right.
and I cannot believe the extent of cruelty that people can do to dogs.
Yeah.
It just blows my mind that anybody could do such evil. But at the same time, I've also seen an awful lot of videos where, let's say, a dog charges a child out on the street, and another dog comes out of nowhere to roll up the first dog and keep it away from the child.
Right. Yeah, we've seen one of those recently, actually. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so there's that. There's dogs protecting people from a bunch of different things, and people protecting their dogs. There's
Right.
a wonderful video of a bear climbing over a fence to get this woman's 4 or 5 dogs. The 4 or 5 dogs, they're all small dogs. They're all just barking up a storm. They're being as intrepid as they possibly can be in
Is that the
fending off.
one where she comes out and pushes the bear off of the fence, like the spine of steel over here, just rolling out there, get
Can
off
you
my
imagine?
fence? Ugh.
Can you imagine your mom running up there
Oh,
and
dude, what
slugging a
are
bear off a wall?
and what we thought was hilarious about that video is the bear looked terribly confused. This bear is what the heck just happened? I just got bodied, son.
Yeah.
That was a really funny video. Yeah. So, and as it is, we don't, at least not off the top of our head, we can't think of anything that would be as utilitarian as the dog has been.
Correct.
So that's reasonable.
For its speed, for its loyalty, just the loyalty alone.
Oh yeah, no.
I mean, what utility can you get out of an animal that is just that determined to help you, and and not just in what you need it to do, but in how you mentally or emotionally need empathy.
Oh yeah,
When people
definitely.
tell me that animals have no soul, that they have no intelligence. The people that they're just a dumb animal. I can't understand. You've had dogs. You know better than that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, and
dogs are not
that's
just
just willful
they're not
ignorance.
machines that were programmed to act as if they have feelings. They genuinely do have
Yeah.
feelings, and they're really, really good at understanding yours.
Well, it's hilarious because anybody who's ever caught their dog in the wrong or whatever, and is like, "What's this? What are you doing here?" And the dog's all like, "Oh, no, I didn't. It wasn't me." Like that's the face of a 4-year-old child who just got caught doing something that they knew they weren't supposed to do. Like there's this. We've seen more intelligence in our dog's eyes than we've seen in the eyes of some people. So.
Yeah, I wish we were more consistent as a species.
Yeah, that'd be lovely.
Yeah, but as I said, I've watched a lot of videos where there's animal rescue, and it is usually a dog that is being rescued.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just like it's like when you maybe everybody does this now when you're going to bed and you look at your phone before you go to sleep. You know,
Yeah.
and I do. I'm trying to shut my brain off. I'm just trying to cool down, stop doing research or whatever. Just go to bed. I want to watch something that doesn't require thought.
Look at some memes, watch a couple of dog videos,
Exactly, and
Yep.
it's always somebody, rescuing a dog or something similar to that. That's what usually shows up in my feed. So I've seen a lot of them.
Well, there are worse things to see than dog rescues in your feed, to be
Yeah.
fair. So on that note, what do you think are some serious mistakes we've made with dogs in the history of society? Do you think we should have gone a different direction with them? What would you change if you had the magical ability to snap your fingers and have things in relation to dogs be different?
We have a couple of breeds that are pretty intelligent. Shut up. Shut up. So, stop. I don't care that someone's barking. It's okay. It's okay. All right. So we have a couple of intelligent breeds. They were bred for shepherding, for example. Like border collies are supposed to be one of the really intelligent ones.
Yeah.
I wish that we could have bred for intelligence. Nobody ever thought to do that.
Yeah.
My daughter has a dog that she bought the electric pad that has the different keys, so that the dog taps the key that coordinates to a word. So the dog can tap out words to explain what she wants.
Right.
I think that's brilliant. Can you imagine if we
more dogs doing that? Yeah.
Yeah. We didn't have to have electronic devices to do that kind of training. There are other things we could have done, that we could have taught our dogs a human dog like sign system.
Well, especially with dogs, where intelligence is something that we use a dog because it's already intelligent. Where we can measure how intelligent a dog is by how quick it catches on to tricks, its response time, its receptivity to our emotional states, etc. Those are easily measurable things. We've been seeing. We're a huge historian. We're really big fan of seeing daily life through histories. How did the average Roman guy in the beginning of the Roman Empire, how did he go about his daily life? Where did he go to work? What did he do with his wife in his off time on her anniversary to make sure that she didn't get angry with him or whatever? And you will find dogs as this central focal point in Roman society, and really any society that we think about as like really well developed. You will find that people wrote about dogs, about the qualities of dogs, about how to raise dogs, etc. And in our training of Moon Girl, it's a huge thing that we actually try to, as often as possible, consult the really popular old dog training manuals and stuff, because they had thoughts exactly like our own in reference to dogs. They wrote it all down.
Yeah, so that's one of the things I'd like to see. They didn't start doing like actual communication with dogs in any serious way until the last couple of decades.
You'd make the better dog. You'd make the smarter dog.
Make the smarter dog, because that would be a better. See. We have this range already with the breeds that we have, because very often you see dogs look at a mirror and think it's another dog. That's a dumb dog.
Yeah.
Now, very few animals can recognize their own reflection in a mirror, And
yeah, it's like elephants and dolphins and blue jays for some
parrots.
reason, and
Yeah,
parrots. Yeah, yeah. There are very few, and
very
dogs.
few, but some, but not all dogs
Can
can do
notice
that.
themselves in a mirror. Yeah.
And one of the other things that dogs can do, not all will, is some dogs with a television is just moving colors. It doesn't mean anything. They
But
don't
some
make
dogs
sense out of a
actively
TV
watch
screen.
TV.
And
Yeah.
some of them actually do watch
Yeah.
TV, yes.
Yeah, our dogs literally will sit on, like, if we're watching something and everybody's watching like Agents of Shield or like, Arcane or whatever, you're watching something colorful or whatever, and the dog sees it, they'll sit down and like look at the screen and watch with everybody. Because so Hudson, Moon Girl's brother, is a particularly great example, because Hudson is the dog that will sit up like a person when everybody else is sitting on the couch. He'll like get up on the couch and then he'll like sit on his butt and lean back against the back of the couch and like put his arm up and look over at you. And we're like, he thinks he's a people. He's great. Like, we love him. But and then eventually he'll lose his balance because he doesn't have an ass to sit on. So then he'll just fall over against you and snuggle up, and it's adorable. But yeah, no, we think that's a sign of intelligence in dogs. Like, just the mimicry, just doing what people do.
Yeah, but when sometimes, I mean, they don't understand everything that we say. They certainly can't understand the speed at which we can speak, all of that. They're
Yeah.
never going to have the vocabulary that we're talking about, but you can enhance that. And there
Yes.
is genetic variation going on. There's like, why is it that bulldogs more often than not can watch TV and
Over
not you?
Pomeranians. Yeah. For example. No, definitely. We agree.
There's a
with
series of videos. Somebody's got a YouTube channel that's dedicated to their bulldog watching television.
that. That's awesome. We love
And
that.
how the dog reacts to action movies and horror movies. The dog is intently watching, and he knows that something's about to
Right.
happen. You can see him start growling with excitement or whatever, or start
Yeah.
start barking at the
We
screen.
used to actually live with a dog who would do that. Like, he would, when the action scenes were getting big, he would like get excited. When the horror scenes were big and the horror monster popped out, he would bark at the horror monster. Like, oh yeah, no, we love it when dogs do that.
It's just amazing to me that people in my family, close relatives, would insist that there's no consciousness
Yeah, no.
in an animal. It just I'm dumbfounded as to how and it's entirely religiously motivated.
Of course, because there's nothing in the science that says that animals really are very much different than us. All the other, because we're animals.
Well, come here then. My dog is pawing at me to pet me. May as well be on camera. Come here. Come here.
So for our last couple of questions, since we're getting into like breeding dogs to be smarter, make the better dog. If you could snap your fingers, you would make the better, smarter dog. So it's interesting that you mentioned that. We like that because our last two questions have to kind of do with that. So if you don't mind us getting a little ridiculous, because we're coming into sci-fi territory here, what do you think of the future of dogs, given that dogs are being found to do new things even in this day and age, like epileptic support dogs, diabetes blood sugar detection dogs? Do you think that we'll ever have talking neo dogs from Starship Troopers, or extra large, extra long lived dogs that can intuit numbers of huge numbers of commands from listening to conversations?
Well, there's a correlation that the larger the dog, the shorter the lifespan for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So there's that has to be overcome. So I don't see dogs necessarily getting bigger,
really big,
as a necessary advantage. But we live in a society that society demands certain behaviors.
Yeah.
And so dogs like that blue tick hound that I talked about before, that go back to get the aggression gene that they used to have, they have to be artificially selected out of the population.
Right.
Because we can't have that kind of inexplicable. There's no tolerance for that kind of behavior, and that's a strict selective pressure that certain behaviors are encouraged and certain behaviors are discouraged. So dogs have to be smart.
So we are making the better dog, just gradually and slowly.
And there's nothing wrong with that. because
Right.
every time we've tried to, whenever we've tried, genetic manipulation in too much of a hurry, that we don't do it like nature does. Nature tries out all of these different things. There's a whole lot of beta testing before
Before you
something.
get the final product. Yeah.
A lot
Yeah.
more than what we do. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, we will have lines of corn that are not even good for the surrounding environment. But the natural version of corn has gone through, as I said, the beta testing trials and all of that so long that it has become codependent on the environment, so that the environment that where the corn grows actually needs the corn to be there or
Yeah.
benefits from it. So yeah, but our dogs perform all these different functions. They're trained to be able to do all these different things. They're very helpful at doing these different things. And even if they're not going to be some kind of a service dog at all, they have to know that there are behaviors that are prohibited,
Right.
and they have to know that they surely must understand their value is more, especially now, especially in this century, as in the 20th century, where
This
not
new
so much any
technological
other time.
era. Yeah.
Dogs were strictly utilitarian until the last 100 years or so.
19th century. Yeah. When we
and
got all of the hundreds of new breeds from
and then
designer
they
breeding and stuff.
became
Yeah.
just full on companions. That's the only reason we have them. We don't need them to guard. We don't need them to hunt. We just want the companionship. And so
Yeah.
they have to adapt to be better at that. I mean, they're pretty good at it. I'm not complaining. But if you're going to get a smart dog, then yeah, that's what better able to communicate is helpful.
Society dogs are, yeah, slowly over time, society will dictate that dogs get smarter. Oh, we see where you're going there.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we have a number of aptitudes that we've developed for spoken language.
Yeah.
And so if you take people that have never spoken a word and put them in a collective, like there was this interesting experiment, a bunch of deaf kids that
Yeah.
didn't know sign language, they didn't know any language. I don't remember where they were. I think it was in Mexico, may have been Central America. But there's a bunch of deaf kids, and they end up collective together,
Yeah.
and they establish their own means of communication just by living together this brief period. They're now communicating through sign that they
Right.
invent.
Because you have to, right? Or otherwise
Even if
cohesion
you're not
breaks
capable
down
of
and
speech,
yeah.
you still have a means that you still need. Our brains require. We've built this ability to communicate so well that we now need it.
Yeah.
And so even if we've never had a spoken word, even if you've never learned sign language, these kids are still communicating with each other.
We like that. That's fascinating to think about actually.
And that's going to teach, knowing that that can happen and knowing how it works with us. Let's turn to another nonverbal species that has maybe has a better memory than we do, but doesn't have the other advantages that we have, but it does know how to communicate other ways.
Yeah. Like that. So
So my dog has
we
a number of signs to give me for when he wants out or whatever, and there's
yeah,
different ways of asking. I'm always at the keyboard. I'm always constantly doing research. So one thing that he
scratch
does
at
is
the door or what have
he
you.
will get his head between me and the mouse, or he'll just lay his head on my arm
Yeah.
and look longingly into my eyes, and that means he either wants pets or more likely he wants out.
Well, Moon Girl will come up and shove her nose into our armpit while we're sitting at the computer and pay attention to me.
Yeah.
Oh, it's funny. So we hope that the answer to this is no, and we hope you'll elaborate on it. But this is the last question, last little thing here. Even if we could make the better dog, which we think you
I'd be
established we
happy
kind
with
of are.
one that understands that you're not supposed to eat the shit out of the bottom of the parrot cage.
Yes. Well, that is the better dog. And we believe in the last question you kind of established we are heading toward the better dog. We are heading toward the smarter dog. Lovely snake.
Yeah, my wife
Beautiful.
just handed me one of her babies.
Nice. Yeah,
She's gonna,
so we're heading toward the better dog, but even if we can get the better dog, the ultimate huge numbers of commands just by having listened to you talk and stuff like that. Super smart dogs, super long-lived dogs. Is there ever a time where you think that dogs will become functionally obsolete, where we outgrow the dog?
Well, in a sense, they're already there. I mean, we don't. There's some things you need, and there's things you want. And dogs are no longer a thing that we need.
No, not in most cases. No. Well, we mean here on the farm, we need our dog, but yeah, because we don't want to chase after those chickens anymore by ourselves. We give her the command, she goes and puts them back where they're supposed to be.
Yeah,
But,
so
yeah,
it becomes something that we want. I mean, dogs have an ability to soothe. You know, I've seen a couple of studies where they're talking about just having a pet for people that are suffering particular illnesses. If you bring a dog into a hospital for, it brings up people's spirits. It makes them feel calmer.
Yeah.
That petting an animal makes you feel calmer. That having a pet is much like, they say that sometimes that married people live longer than unmarried people, and that having a pet like a dog is more emotionally healthy than not having a dog. So we may not need them, but we want them.
But they still provide a definite benefit.
Yeah, and it's still mutual.
Do you think there will ever be a time where that isn't the case?
Oh, eventually.
Oh, okay. Well, darn, we were hoping you'd be like, nah, probably not. But okay,
well,
fair enough.
If you want to be cold about it, I mean, we don't need them. We're not in a situation where we need dogs anymore.
Yeah, we can do it all with
it's
technology.
It's advantageous
now.
that they're able to do the some of the things that they can do, bomb sniffing and cancer sniffing and that sort of thing. But how far are we from devices that we don't have to feed and care for, that you just turn on a button or change the batteries and they do the same job?
So like our gerbils and hamsters and rabbits, at some point they'll just become something pretty that we have and that we keep around to make ourselves feel better and have companionship.
Yeah, and I think it's still mutually beneficial. I don't think that it's ever going to be completely one-sided.
Okay, well, and that's what we want to hear. We don't think that it'll ever be completely one-sided. We think
whatever we may think about the effort that we have to put into taking care of our dog and feeding our dog and the things that we have to buy for our dog is giving back too.
Well, and even since just getting Moon Girl, and this isn't something really that she gave us, but the presence of having a dog, the presence of a dog in our life, you have to do some changes around your life. You gotta, keep the floors a little cleaner. You gotta keep stuff you don't want getting chewed up from the puppy to stay out. And so, we've had her for over half a year now, and the big thing we've noticed from it is actually we're a much cleaner individual. We're more organized. The presence of the dog has made us change as a person for the better, and we like that. We don't think that kind of thing will ever go away because of that structure. Got to feed you now, got to get up on time and let you out. That gets us up early, gets us to work early. So we like that. So that's all the questions we've got for today, and we're just really happy that you let us interview you about dogs, because that's a thing that we're particularly passionate about. We can see you are too.
My pleasure. Oh, somebody's come over. I'm going to have to let you go. So
thanks a bunch. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Stay safe.